Fine.
Good. Okay. I don't know what this on the screen is. Anyway, I wanted to talk about closing the carbon and nutrient cycles with microscale anaerobic digesters. And a large part of all of the technical information has basically been covered by everybody else already. The difference is the microscale biodigesters are the ones that have been being commonly shown in these graphics, and they're smaller than 10 cubic meters, basically. Now, what we have found in various studies across the world is that every household digester is there, and they're not using the effluent, the digestate as fertilizer, that it can be networked and collected and then used for agricultural areas. And at the same time, the small biogas production from house to house and farm to farm can be connected by pipeline, so that they can all share on the biogas and not run out. And it's been the ability of the small digesters to provide biogas and slurry or fertilizer is equal to the very large commercial units. There's no reason for the great big ones, when we can collect together, go together and collect it and distribute it either by pipe or by truck or whatever. So that's a very large part of what I was trying to say tonight or today, and depending on where you are. And the probably the two things to watch is that the CO2 goes in a circle, and y'all can't see me. It's from the burning of the biogas while preparing the meals or whatever other farm uses you have at home of the biogas is. That can be that is considered local carbon. So it doesn't go up and become a part of the carbon pollution problem. And then so it's reabsorbed into the local plants, the trees, the grasses, all of that. And then another way to capture carbon is the actual use of biodigestate as fertilizer, because you're putting the carbon compounds into the soil and enriching the soil with microbial and small animal life that all use carbon to make their physical beings. So we're closing those loops by using the small scale, microscale anaerobic digesters. And the only thing that becomes a pollution problem is the release of any biomethane or biogas into the atmosphere. And at which point we're adding to the pollutants in the atmosphere, and the methane can take 30 to 50 years to break down into CO2, and then still take another 30 to 50 years to come back into the carbon cycle. It's just floating around in the atmosphere. atmosphere, and that's why the CO2 in the atmosphere keeps going up. People burning fossil fuels, people burning wood, are contributing to that. If we can get more people to convert to using the microbidigesters, and at home, that's Homescale. That's something I can do at my house. That's something you can do at yours. At that level, if I'm not using the fertilizer, I can give it to somebody else, or I can put it into if there's a conduit there for it to go into a collection system, I can share it that way. The same for the biogas. If I'm not using all of my biogas, if it's piped into a community with everybody else's biogas, then we all have biogas and we all have the fertilizer to use. And that keeps the carbon cycle closer. We'll never actually close that cycle unless we're on a spaceship. But the same for the nutrient cycle. We're using the same nutrients over and over by fertilizing our soil with the digestate. And then that comes up, and say a farmer spreads it on his field, the grass grows, the cattle eat it, the cow goes to market, and the meat is sold right there in the community, and that becomes a closed circle. And that's really what I was trying to say today. There's not a whole lot to go with it, because we've had so many technical difficulties this morning, and I'm hate to say it, I'm glad to see I'm not the only one having those problems. But I really am grateful for the opportunity to make a presentation. We are trying at LoneStar Biogas. We are trying to build a demonstrational farm that has a very intensive growing technique for both vegetables and livestock. I only have about 5 acres, which I think that's 2 hectares, but I won't swear to it. And I expect to be able to be a commercial producer of vegetables and a small commercial producer of meat on my little piece of land. And that's going to be due to integration of the biogas and the biodigestate into the ecology and economy of the farm. So,
may I interfere?
Good.
So, did you made a presentation, any PPT presentation, like something?
Yeah, I have one written, but it's so much of it has already been covered. I don't feel it necessary to repeat what everybody else has been saying.
So, okay, if possible, if you want to show something through PPT, you can share your screen now.
Okay.
So, Dog has a question for you.
Hello? It wasn't a question, Jeff. I wanted to point out the hugely important point that you made near the end of your talk about closing the circle for mineral resources. If we have depleted our local soil of certain minerals, such as boron or molybdenum or potassium, then the bio slurry, after you biodigest things, won't have that. The bio slurry process, the biodigesting process, does not magically create those minerals. We have to cycle them back into our soil continuously. We can't keep sending things thousands of miles away and not having those mineral resources come back.
Exactly.
So thank
That's a very good part of it. That's why I was emphasizing closing everything locally. If I have, once I start producing meat and vegetables and I sell it in my community, that those nutrients and stay in the community, and I'm picking up the waste and bringing it and making biogas, it does become circular. I am bringing those nutrients back to my farm. You know, if I have 15 neighbors and I sell them all one type of vegetable, and then they put the scraps from preparing their meal into a container, and then they put the leftovers from their meal into that same container, and then I collect those and I bring it back and make biogas with it and biodigestate. I am bringing those nutrients and other nutrients back to my system, and I think that's part of closing this loop, the nutrient loop, in such a way that we are enriching the soil, enriching the very food we eat. What we eat today has been grown so fast that it has not picked up the nutrients that our bodies need, and that's why so many people are so sick all around the world. They just cannot get the micro and macronutrients that they need out of the commercial production of food anymore. Tomatoes are 2 weeks from flowering to the table, and that's not good. That's not the way it works on farms, on real farms. That's a large part of the nutritional problems around the world. One problem we've seen with such as India and Africa, the lack of food is simply because it goes bad between point A, where it was produced, and getting to the people that need that food. So that means our shipping and our production needs to change. Instead of producing it halfway around the world, we need to be producing it here locally, and that will change a lot of lives in the world, and it will change a lot of problems with the food waste we have. If 2/3 of the food produced in the world is going to waste because it's rotten before it gets to the customer, there's something big wrong. And that's why people are starving around the world. It's not that we don't have the capacity to make the food, raise the food. It's because we can't get it to them. So it has to be produced locally instead of across the planet. I think that's the only way to solve the hunger problems, the nutritional problems in this world, is to start producing right here at home. Anybody else? Okay. Somebody else can make their presentation.
I hope all the presenters are completed for now. So is there anyone who wants to talk or wants to ask for collaboration? Otherwise, please turn on everyone your camera So we can close the session after one screenshot. Please turn on camera. We are going to close now.